Alright guys, welcome to part, I don't know what is it, 5 on this thing. This is the custom Yamaha Banshee I picked up for around 800, I think it was 850 bucks, probably a couple months ago now. And it's swapped out with a Suzuki Katana 600cc engine in it. And we got it running a couple videos ago and did a top speed test on it, I think last video. And we got it to, I think, 67 miles an hour, or really close to 70 miles an hour, which is pretty fast for this thing actually. The way it's running right now, it's about half potential. So I'm thinking this thing's gonna run about like 120-ish if it's running correctly, which is insane for a quad. The fastest quad I think I've ever ridden was like 80 miles an hour, so 120 is just insane. But anyway, today we're going to try to attempt to figure out what's going on with this thing. At first I thought it was a fuel problem, maybe like not getting enough fuel, and from the petcock. And it looks like it's getting enough fuel. So I did a bunch of research online, and a lot of people were saying, and from the comment section, that these are CV carburetors, and basically what that means is constant velocity carburetors. These carburetors take the air, which usually is connected to the stock air box. So they take the air from the stock air box, and what that does is the diaphragm lifts up these slides in here, and that controls how much fuel goes into the carburetor. When the air from the stock air box is incorrect and you're getting way too much air, like from a pod filter, that fuel draw is going to be incorrect and the carburetors are going to be way off, causing the engine to run way wrong. And I think that's what's happening here. We're running pod filters and we're running a 4-into-1 pipe that's not stock with an aftermarket silencer on it. So that's gonna mess up the jetting and the way the carburetors draw that fuel in like a ton. And that's why when we start this thing up, it revs up really high because it's starving for fuel. And with the pod filters, it's running really lean. So today we're going to either rejet it with a new jet kit, which is pretty expensive because we've got 4 carburetors to do, or we're going to mess with the pod filters and restrict these a little bit more. You can see, if you look in there, my finger going right through. So these are huge holes in this pod filter, allowing just tons of air, and you can see, I mean, it's basically nothing. I mean, it's a little restrictive because of the back, but the sides are completely open. Unlike the stock air box, which limits the amount of air that can go in. So, I've seen a couple people mod these out and use like milk cartons and stuff, plastic to trap that air in. And some people say that works, some people say it doesn't work. I've seen other people on YouTube make like little butterfly valves for these. You can tune them between the carburetor and the air filter, and that sometimes works, but it's really finicky. And I've read on some forums that the jet kits for them work, but sometimes it doesn't. So it's going to be all testing today. We're going to clean out the carburetors. They had some rust in them from before. I could see that the filter was kind of failing here after many rides. You can see a little rust built up in there. So we're going to clean these out again and then either install a jet kit or mess with the pod filters. I haven't decided yet. Still have to order the jet kit and if I find the correct one. So that's the plan for today. Hopefully by the end of today, this thing is going to be running properly and we can hit a higher top speed than 67 miles an hour. My goal is to get over 100 miles an hour on this quad. That is a pretty high goal, but I think we can do it if we get the jetting correctly. So let's jump into the video and start working on this beast. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we get this right this time. All right, we're gonna start this thing up right now and listen to what it sounds like with the pod filters on it. Alright, so watch when I put my hand over the carburetor. See how it bogs out? That's from running too rich. So when my hand's over the carburetor and it's not getting enough air, obviously the mixture becomes more rich and it doesn't run properly. If I take off the pod filters completely, it runs too lean. So we have to find that happy medium in there to make it run perfectly. So we're gonna take out the carburetors, see what it's running for jets. I don't know if they're stock or not. We'll have to look at the stock settings. But we're gonna start there and go through the whole system until we get this thing running properly. All right, we got the carburetors off, sitting over here. We're gonna quick look at these. I did notice that there's some rust in the gas that the filter was allowing through. So the first thing we're gonna do is take a look at the bottoms. So where the jets are. Thing too. Not too sure what the year is on the motor. Alright. Oh yeah, look at all that rust in there. That's probably one reason why it wasn't running that great. Bunch of rust caked in there. So that's probably why it was starting to backfire. You can see all the rust. Dump that out. Yeah, tons of rust in there. Alright, so for the main jet, looks like it's a 112.5 for the main. Take a look at the pilot here, the stock settings on them, and see what they're at. So the pilot looks like pilot's a 32.5. So 32.5 and a 112.5 for the main. And we have to remember that we do have a aftermarket silencer on it as well, which will affect jetting. So let's look up the stock jetting specifications and see what we need to go up in size. Or down, depending on if the previous owner already rejetted this thing, which I'm guessing they did not. Alright, so did some searching. I believe this is a 1990 Suzuki Katana 600 engine in here. So according to the specs, if you guys can see this or not, it says from 1990 600cc main jet, stock size is 112.5, which is what are in there, and then the pilot jet is 32.5 and a 32.5 pilot is in there, and then it looks like that's for all of them. So all of them should have the same thing, and the air screws 2.5 turns out. So it looks like we're running stock jetting in this, and we're running stock jetting with pod filters, so obviously it's going to run horrible. So let's see. I guess we can check out the rest of the carburetor and see if it all has the same jets in it. Alright, so I just opened up each individual carburetor and all of them were running the same exact thing, 112.5 for the main, and then for the pilot 32.5. So all of them were exactly the same. There was a bunch of rust built up. So obviously the filter was not filtering out the rust properly. So that is another, one of the reasons why it was kind of boggy. But, the main thing was I think the pod filters. So in a perfect world, we could just put the stock airbox back on and run that. But I don't think it's going to fit. Actually, I know it's not going to fit, so we're going to have to modify something. I'm going to look for some jets. I'm not sure what size to go to, but I'll order some up and we can play with them. And then we can try restricting the pod filters a little bit more and playing with those. I know some people put washers in between them, so we could probably try doing that. I don't know, but basically we just have to play with it until we get it right. I just went through all the carburetors. They're all cleaned out now, good to go. And I ordered up a jet kit for this thing. I calculated what needed to be done on a website. I'll try to link the website in the description, but it really helped a lot and maybe understand how to jet this thing. So basically what we did was took the altitude into account, we took the 4-into-1 pipe into account, and we took the pod filters into account when trying to jet this thing. For individual pod filters like this, they recommended +4 on the jetting for the main jet, and for every +4 on the main jet, you want to go +1 on the pilot. So we had +4 for the pod filters because they're individual pod filters on the engine, so that's a +4 for the main. We had another +4 for the pipes, 4-into-1 with the aftermarket silencer, so that's another +4. So we're +8 on the main jet already, and we were starting out at 112.5. So what we did was get a 120 kit, which is 0.5 less than 8, which is going to be fine, and then a 37.5 kit because we were starting out at 32.5 for the pilot. So we went up 2 for the pilot because every 4 sizes up in the main, you go up 1 for the pilot. So we would go up 2 for the pilot, and then we went up 7.5 for the main, which technically we should have gone 8, but I couldn't find a jetting kit that was 120.5, so this will have to do. This comes with little washers as well for the needle. They recommend you put the little shim washers right here on the needle, so you can see right here. And I believe they already have a shim installed because I took it apart and looked at the diaphragms as well, and it looks like the shim is already in there. So I wonder if they shimmed it already or if we just put another one in. Not quite sure, but hopefully these are the right jets. They said they were made for the McCuney carburetors, so we'll have to see. And these are McCuney, so we'll have to see. This is the jet kit I bought, 88 through 92, GSX 600 FT, 600 Katana, carburetor, stage 4 jet kit, 37.5 for the pilot and 120 for the main. So it wasn't too bad, 50 bucks. And this is what it says. 4 new main jets, and then 4 37.5 pilot jets, and then 8 needle spacers. So you must put in 2 for each carburetor. I wonder. It says, this kit is models LMNOPRST, so I think they're talking about that letter right there, which I found was N, so this kit should be fine for that. And then it says, this pilot jet does not have the little hole in the bottom. We don't have the hole anyway in the bottom of those, so this should work. It says stage 4 is for motorcycles with highly modified engines with individual air intakes and baffled aftermarket exhaust system. So we have both those things. We have individual pod filters and a baffled exhaust system. It says jet kits will compensate for the lean running condition. Lean running condition can destroy your engine and decrease overall performance. Jet kits are easy to install, but does require some basic carb tuning knowledge. So we're going to try to install these today. We've got the carburetors all clean. So basically all we have to do is replace the main jet and the pilot jet, and that's basically it. And then these little shims, which we'll probably put another shim in there, each one. I don't know if I'm gonna put 2 in. Probably start out with 1 and see how that runs. And then we're gonna turn each air screw to the stock setting, which is 2.5 turns out. All right, we're gonna start by installing the main jets and pilot jets first. and then we'll work on the needle shim part of it. So let's take off the bowls on all of these first and get these jets replaced. Focus on one thing at a time. I'm hoping this is going to be the fix. That would be awesome. Then we'll, once we install this, we'll test her out and see if it makes a difference. So these are already kind of loose in here. You can see these are the stock jets. I cleaned out the bowls, perfectly clean in there, and then I cleaned out all these other carburetors with carb cleaner and an air compressor. So let's get the little pilot jet out of there. Well, we want to make sure we're getting all the jets replaced and we're not messing them up. Hopefully they fit. We'll do one at a time just to keep track, because 4 of them are pretty tough. You can see this one is 32.5 for the pilot, and the main is 12.5. So we're gonna go up to, let's see here. Pilot says 37.5. We'll put that guy in there. Screw that one in. So far it's fitting pretty good. Nice and snug, and then we've got the new main, which is 120. Throw that sucker in there. And that's gonna screw in. Nice. Cool, that one's done. Moving on to the next one, and we'll just continue this process until all of the carburetors are rejetted. Alright, we're on the last carburetor right here. We got the new pilot in right here. I cannot get the main jet out, so you can see that is still the 12.5 main jet. I'm going to have to take off the diaphragm and then poke something through there so that it latches on, because look, it just spins right now. I'll show you guys. I don't know why it's doing this. Must have tightened it too tight or something, and I think the little knob that holds it in place is snapped off of it or something, but it just spins now. It doesn't come out. The whole tube in here spins. So we're gonna have to deal with that a little bit later. Hopefully we can get that thing out. Alright, so for the shim, we have to open these guys up. So where the diaphragms are. We'll do one at a time here. Put one in, or if they come stock like that, but in the picture you can see there's no shim there. There's just a clip and the spacer, so we'll have to kind of see and play around with the shim. Alright, so there's the diaphragm right there. Here's the needle. Let's take the needle out. And that's it. So you can see here is the part at the top. That's that part right there. Here is the clip. You can see the little clip right here. That matches up with that. And here's the little spacer. That matches up with that. And as you can see, there's already a shim on there. See the little washer? Right there. We're going to put another one on, just for fun, because they give us 8 of them. We'll put another one on and see what happens. We'll put 2 shims. That one's a little bit bigger than the stock one. All right, let's try to fish that down into here and see if that shim is gonna work. Oh, we have 2 shims going in. Oh yeah. So that is going to raise the needle and allow more fuel to come in. Go through each carburetor and do that to each one. All right, all the shims are installed on the needles, so that's all good to go. I was not able to get the main jet out of this one, so I took a wire that was the same diameter as the 120 main jet and tried to wiggle that through, and it went through, so technically we're at the same diameter as the 120 main jet, so hopefully that does the trick. That thing, there's nothing to grab in there to get that main jet out, so I tried jamming something in there and it was just spinning still, so I didn't want to wreck it, and this was the best option we had. So if it causes a big problem, well, I don't know what we're gonna do. Have to drill it out. I'm not sure. Probably get like a tiny little drill bit and try drilling out the main jet. But yeah, everything else is good to go. All of them are set to 120 main and then 37.5 pilot with 2.5 turns out on the fuel screw. Next, all right, carburetor's back installed, everything is working. We're gonna take off this filter and install a new one. All right, we'll reinstall this one. Cut a little piece off of that. There's a little piece of rust in there as well. This one. Looks pretty clear to me. All right, cool. Turn the gas on, get it primed, see if the carburetors leak. Hopefully it doesn't. All right, let's get the pod filters back on. All right, here we go. So a telltale sign that it's working is going to be if it idles and doesn't rev up high. That means the pilot jets are the correct size. If it idles high and you need to turn the choke on, which we probably will have to do because it's cold for the first little bit, but it should come down, the idle should come down to where you can adjust it and it won't rev out. So we'll see. And then we can't test the main jets until we take it for a test drive. Let's see if it sounds a little bit better. Throttle might be stuck. I think the throttle's getting stuck. We have to take off the carburetors and twist that throttle in a little bit more. All right, throttle should be fixed. Let's see if this sounds a little bit better. That's idling with the choke off. Choke is off. Idling perfectly. Alright, that to me sounds a lot better. Doesn't rev up at startup. It stays nice and consistent throughout. So obviously the pilot jets are working. It revs out completely. So you can rev it to the moon now. I don't know if that was just cleaning the carburetors or the main jet's working. But it sounds pretty clear throughout the whole transition of minimal throttle to full throttle. So I think she might be fixed. Let's go take this to my parents and go take it for a test drive. This should be interesting. Alright, made it up to my parents' house. Time to test out the newly jetted custom Banshee. Let's see what she can do. Rolling. Let's see if this stage 4 jet kit makes a difference. Alright, here we go. Turn her on. It doesn't really even need choke to start anymore, which is nice. And that's how it's idling. So, I mean, already it's better. I don't have to play with the choke at all. See, if you pull back the choke, it'll idle like way down. So we know we're pretty much perfect there with the pilot. Alright, here we go. Let's see what happens. Maybe it just needs to be warmed up a little bit yet, because so far it's doing the same thing. I think that's actually worse. I don't know. Ah. I don't know how that's actually worse. That's crazy. Let's see if I put the choke on a little bit. I keep on misshifting. So first ride, kind of a disappointment. I thought rejetting it would help a ton, but it actually made it worse. So I don't know what's going on with that. Very strange. We're gonna try it with the pod filters off this time and see if that makes a difference. because it revs out really nice when you have it in first gear. Check this out. I mean, it starts right up. And then listen to it rev out. It revs out really good. So I don't know what's going on with that. It revs out in neutral completely, but then when under load, it doesn't want to rev out completely and hit those high RPMs. Let's see what that does. I kind of want to see how those slides open up too. I wish I could look when I'm in first gear. First test did not go very well. Ran worse than it did originally, so a jet kit made it worse. For the first run, we're going to try it without the pod filters, because when you turn the choke on when it's running, it doesn't get better. So maybe it's running too rich now. I don't know. It's weird that it's fine in neutral, but then it like doesn't move under load very well. It's very strange. It's always done that though, so. Better. It's definitely better without the pod filters. Yeah, she's running pretty good now. Woo! That's got some good pickup. Holy cow. That's a lot faster. Alright, we got the speedometer hooked up. Now we can kind of compare to see how fast this thing's going here. Going 57 right there. Alright, no cars coming. Let's see if we can get a higher top speed. think we hit 70. Yeah, we hit 70. So it's definitely faster. Definitely faster. Okay, we're gonna try it right there with the choke. Doesn't like that. Wonder if we're out of gas again. Alright, there's the top speed, 70.86 miles an hour. So we improved a little bit. I think what's happening is the gas is getting plugged up with rust again. Look at that. That would be why. Okay. Not much is coming out of there either. So the gas flow is kind of weak. Look at the gas flow. Very weak. It's pretty rusty looking. So obviously that filter's not working too well. I don't know. It's obviously gonna run like crap until we get that fixed again. It ran a lot worse with the pod filters on it. You can see how rusty that is. Alright, well that wraps up today's video. Kind of disappointed that we didn't make huge improvements, but I'm happy we made a little improvement, and I'm guessing this thing goes around 80 miles an hour when we are like, you know, right on the money the way it's running right now. So I think it has more. I think it can go like 100 something. So we're going to continue at it and play with the carburetor more, play with the gas tank, make sure there's no rust in it, because obviously the filter's not working. And then make sure those diaphragms don't have any cracks in it, because I feel like I missed maybe a hairline crack in the diaphragm. So I'll check those out, because something is not pulling the fuel in, and the diaphragm kind of controls that. So we'll take a look at it in a future video. Stay tuned for that. Thanks for all the help and the positive comments on this thing. I'm working on it, and it's just ordering parts for it. It takes a long time, so it's hard to make a video each week on it when you're waiting for parts. But anyway guys, leave a comment down below. What do you think is wrong with this thing? We made a couple improvements, but it's still not quite there. So anyway guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Until next time.